I'm nervous. Oh boy. Most of you guys are probably aware at this point, but this next track it's an important one for a lot of people in the community, myself included, for a lot of things that really make up the spirit of Ruby, with Monty and you know, the sense of being indomitable and where that originally comes from. So for those of you who don't know, this song is in response to a quote that Monty kind of stood by, when talking about you know, his thoughts on like hard work, perseverance, death, and it says, "I believe that the human spirit is indomitable. If you endure to achieve, it will happen given enough resolve. It may not be immediate, and often your greater dream is something that you will not achieve within your own lifetime. The efforts you put forth in anything transcend yourself, for there is no futility, even in death."
I met a man, he had a dream. I tried to understand, but nothing was what it seemed. Sometimes that's how God's roll. We'd sit for hours, he'd share his plans to build a universe and make every part by hand. A big scheme with an infinite goal. So I would watch and listen and try to learn as the pieces and bits became whole. But there was more going on than the work at hand. What I learned had to do with the strength of the soul. There's a light that shines,
And its power is mine.
though our bodies weak and break out, spirit is indomitable. So step by step and frame by frame, a world created, its map fashioned from our stain. Just dream big, then work till it grows. I learned this lesson, we can evolve, achieving anything as long as our hearts resolve. Believing will make it so. Though our lives are limited by years on earth, our dreams won't be bound inside. The goal's not to live forever, 'cause eternity loves the creations of time. There's a light
That shines, and its power is mine. Though our bodies weak and break apart, the spirit is
Don't be afraid. Get going, step every day. I'll meet you there. When we try, we transcend. for the unthinkable, for something that's so unfair. It's cruel, but that's how life goes. But through the sadness, thousands of tears, we see his message sparkling in crystal clear.
Keep moving forward.
There's a light that shines, and its power is light. Though our bodies weak and breakable, the spirit is indomitable.
I love that song so much. Man. You know what? I remember when I first heard the name Monty Oum. Dead Fantasy. The coolest shit I'd ever seen. And that name stayed with me until I discovered Ruby. That's what got me into Rooster Teeth. I remember the first tweet that I ever sent him that he responded to, that I asked him what's his favorite weapon, like what if he could have any weapon in the Ruby universe, what would it be? And this was right after Volume 1, and like he hyped me the fuck up because he was like Crow's weapon. And in Volume 1 we heard of Crow like once when Ruby mentioned her uncle teaching her how to use her scythe, and he got me so hyped for Crow before I ever knew what we would see of it. And it hurts so much because I remember what it was like when he was here. I remember liking this show that like had like no business being as big as it was, but it had like a lot of heart, and it had charm, and it had a passionate community, one that I felt genuinely a part of. And I remember the day. I'll never forget that day, man. It was like my world came crashing down. It was like I couldn't believe it, like. And then Volume 3 happened. Without him, and the writers, and the animators, and the voice actors, they stayed. They continued. And then you guys found me. And like it's all because of him, like why I'm here right now, why any of you guys are here right now with me, why I'm continuing to watch this show, to see it through to the end, to support Rooster Teeth, Miles and Carrie, everyone who was so close to him. And as a fan, you know what I mean? Like if this is how I'm feeling as a fan, imagine the people like Jeff and Casey and Miles and Carrie and Barbara, and like how they must feel. You know, he was something else, man. He was so different. He was unique. And like I owe so much to him, because like a lot of my confidence came from Ruby. And like when he made the show, and like one of the things that he said, he was like we're making this show, you know, with these young characters who are still discovering themselves. And when I started watching Ruby, I was 23 and I still hadn't known who I was. You know, I was still very shy, insecure, not that confident, you know, and I watched Ruby, and it was like, I felt like it was like where I belonged, you know. And like, I loved the beginning, like talking about, you know, like Casey and Jeff, like know him so personally, like I could just picture him like sitting at a table back like before any of us knew what Ruby was, and just talking about this show and this world and this universe and these characters. Like there was one story that Jeff told a couple years back. I did a Q&A with him a couple years ago, and he told us how like Monty would talk about the song Boop to Jeff. And this was before Boop even existed. Like it wasn't, no one knew about Boop, but he would talk to Jeff about Boop as if the song had existed. And Jeff I remember Jeff was like, oh, you should send me that song. And he was like, it doesn't exist. It's just in my head. And that eventually went on to be the song Boop that we all know, like the like the doo-wop, like the duet. Like not the duet, but it was just like this 70s doo-wop style, and that was based on like Monty just thinking it into existence as if it existed like for everybody else. This was a great tribute, and it means so much, and it makes so much sense that it's in dedication to him, because it's like he really even felt like he was like, don't worry, you know, like don't plan on like living forever, create something that will, you know. And we were like blessed to have him. We were blessed to have him in our lives for as short as it was, you know what I mean? Like I discovered Monty, and like when Dead Fantasy came out, I really got into the community, and you know, in 2013 with Volume 1, Volume 2 happened, and then and you know, like I never got to meet him, but I got to meet the people that he inspired, the people that he worked with, the community that was fostered in massive part. And I'm like, I'm watching Red versus Blue right now, and it's so painful to watch that, because from my perspective, that's the last thing that he worked on, because I've already seen everything else, you know. And I'm about to start season 10. When I get back from RTX, I already have videos prepped and planned for upload this week for Red versus Blue content, and it's just so bittersweet, because it's like I'm looking at what everybody else already got into. I saw, you know, Tex versus the Meta and Wash. I saw, like, you know what I mean, like North and South, that entire fight sequence and animation, Tex versus the Reds and Blues, you know, the Warthog going through the wall, and just seeing like where like Monty made his mark. You know, changed Rooster Teeth forever. For Red versus Blue, for Ruby, for the company, for the community. Look at Ruby now. You know what I mean? It's just so bittersweet that you know, he's not here to see all of these things. Ruby in Japan, Blaze Blue, you know, Volume 6 going into Volume 7, Ruby Chibi. And, you know, it's so bittersweet, but, like, I loved his energy, I loved his creativity, I loved that someone like that made a massive impact on my life, because, like, I really don't know where I'd be without Ruby, without the community, without Rooster Teeth, you know, not just for the sake that this is what I do, not just for the sake of being a content creator, a YouTuber, streamer, whatever, but really just because it was, like, I know... I'm so confident, like I know myself. I you know, I'm unapologetic. I'm enthusiastic. I express myself in all my forms and all my ranges of emotions. I don't really care about being insecure about what people think or how much I put myself out there, because, you know, we're all human, and like the one thing that I want to do is like stay true to myself, because, you know, Monty and this show like helped me discover that and helped me really like come into my own with being comfortable with being me, you know, instead of trying to conform and instead of trying to please other people and instead of trying to fit with the crowd, you know what I mean? Like I stand out now and I'm my own self and no one can replicate me, and it's all thanks to him and to the show and the community. And I'm sorry for going on a spiel, but I feel like this is like a remembrance of him, you know? And like I'm dreading the day like when the Ruby, like the final episode of the series finale comes out, because I'm gonna be a fucking wreck. Everyone and their mother will probably know that. I loved the song. I really, really loved it. I loved hearing like the perspective of Monty from Casey, from people who he was very close with, especially her, who, you know, she was really young when she first met him. And, you know, his influence with her and her dad and Rooster Teeth and the music and how hype it is and how emotional it is. You know, it's something else. And I feel like I cried so much in this song. I'm not going to have much emotion to express in the next one, which is even worse. But we love you, Monty. Thank you so much for making this show, for giving us each other, for giving us something to look forward to every year. I loved this song. Casey, you did an amazing job. If you're watching this, you know, this might be my new favorite. Like, obviously this, Cold, Let's Just Live, you know, he's always with us. He's always in our thoughts. You know, the show wouldn't be the show without him, whether he's here or not, you know. Thank you guys as well, you know. You guys definitely make this a lot more easier to go through than if I was just, like, in my room, like, weeping amongst myself. You know, you guys helped me out so much, more than you guys will ever know, you know, with enjoying my videos, for being super supportive and encouraging. And I don't just mean that, like, you know, I know what it's like to be like, to not feel wanted or to have no place. You know, RTX is next week. I'm gonna see all my friends again. I'm gonna get hyped for Volume 7. I loved the song. It was perfect. I don't know when I'll listen to it again, because this is like a special song that I barely listen to Cold, because it's just one of those songs that if you let me listen to it, that's it. I'm over. I'm done. And it holds a very special place in our heart, my heart, for someone that means so much, who did so much, and I know, you know, he never even knew who I was. But, you know, thank you, Monty, so much for being you, for doing what you loved, for giving all of us, again, something to look forward to, giving us Ruby, for giving us each other, for building up this community. Made such a massive impact. So many people, you know, like Mark Zong, like, he does trailers because of Monty. You know, Monty inspired him to do that. You know, he made such an impact, and I just really hope he knew that. You know, I really hope he knows how big of an impact he was, and how much we appreciated him, and how much we miss him. But with all that said, I love the song. I don't know when I'll listen to it again. That's probably going to be my first time and last time listening to it for a while. But I loved it. It was everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that song represents just as much as anything the spirit of Monty Oum.